I'm going to tell you how I would use Woodlawn Blue by Benjamin Moore on my next interior project, just in case you're working on an interior painting project of your own. I'll give you some details on what the color is specifically on a technical level, and then I'll give you some trim colors that go really well with it in case you're doing your walls and your baseboards, which you should be doing, by the way. And then finally, I'm going to give you my 3 color pairings that I handpicked from the Benjamin Moore color paint collection. If that sounds pretty good to you, then click that like button and let's get right into this video. So Benjamin Moore describes this color as a delicate wash of blue that brings to mind a fine crystal. Really cute description, but what does that really mean at the end of the day? The first thing that I look at when it comes to paint colors is the LRV, the good old light reflectance value. And this is essentially a 0 to 100 lightness score. The higher that number is, the brighter the color will appear. And with Woodlawn Blue, we're kind of hovering between 60 and 61, which means it is in the lighter half of colors, kind of in that mid-tone category, which is pretty good for interior use when you're painting your walls. If you have a color that goes too bright, if it's like in the 80s or above, you run the risk of it feeling washed out if you have a lot of natural light coming in. Oftentimes, you won't see any color at all in those cases. But luckily, 60 is a pretty solid spot. You will notice the saturation here, but it's not going to be too dark. It's not going to feel too heavy as a color. So right off the bat, that's a good thing. Now, what kind of color is Woodlawn Blue? Well, it is a blue. Surprise, surprise. But it is sort of in that powdery area of blue, not intensely rich. It does feel like a tint or a light shade that is a little bit muted, but not so much that it feels like a cold gray. I would say it is a blue, but it just leans toward the muted side of things. Now, typically speaking, blues can kind of go a few different ways, but more often than not, your blues can either go a little more purple leaning, perhaps, going towards reds, or green leaning, going towards yellows. And in this case, Woodlawn Blue maybe has a touch of green mixed in, but it is very subtle, so don't think that this is a turquoise or anything like that. If you have warmer lighting present, if you love your incandescent bulbs, for example, then that little bit of green might be accentuated and this color will feel a little warmer than you might expect. But for a majority of use cases, this will feel blue. It'll just feel a bit powdery, a little bit of a pastel color, especially in areas that get a lot of really good lighting. As far as where I would use this in the home, it is a fairly versatile color, but not necessarily one that I would reserve for the main color that I would put throughout my entire home. If you're looking for one paint color for your hallways, your bedrooms, your bathrooms, probably not going to pick this one just because I find it best when used in smaller doses, but don't feel like this is an accent color that's just going to feel way out there. If I were to pick one room to use it in, I would probably pick a kitchen, believe it or not. Normally colors like this I would reserve for bathrooms and bedrooms, those sort of soothing areas, but for some reason a kitchen I think would look really, really nice, especially with nice crispy off-white kitchen cabinets. Never thought you'd hear me praise white cabinets, eh? Now, what about other paint colors that go well with it? This is my favorite part of the video. We're going to talk about some color pairings, including trim color options. I don't know what I was doing with my fingers there. And of course, some wall colors too, because I'm the color guy and I'm here to give you free colors that you can use right away. Make sure you're subscribed to keep getting this color advice for free from me. So trim color option number 1, this is the one you want to pay attention to because white trim is kind of a classic choice. It's very timeless. It's what a lot of people are going to gravitate towards. My white trim choice for Woodlawn Blue is White Heron, aka Oxford White. So this is a color that is not insanely bright, but it is very clean. It has just a touch of gray to soften it and kind of modernize it a touch. And what I like about it is it's a white paint that I would actually use on more than just the trim. You can use it as a wall color. You can have it on your ceilings. It works great on kitchen cabinets as well. A very versatile white, but within this palette, totally great choice for your baseboards, your doors, your frames, your window frames, your casings, all that wood stuff you might have in your house. As far as a dark trim color choice, if you want something a little more moody, something a little more dramatic, Gentleman's Gray would be my choice. This is a favorite amongst designers because it is one of the quintessential navy blues that Benjamin Moore makes. It does lean a little towards the teal side, but a very blackened, shaded teal. So that's great because Woodlawn Blue also has a touch of that green too. So that is where the connection happens here, but you have a ton of contrast between the two. Very, very different colors in terms of how light and dark they are. I also love Gentleman's Gray on walls, so don't think of this as just a trim color choice. It works as a trim color, but you can use it for more than just that. All right, color pairing time. So the first one I wanted to pick is a gray, admittedly so, but it is a gray that feels a little more green leaning when you actually see it in person. It's called Brushed Aluminum, and it has an LRV around 55, so not too far off from Woodlawn Blue, a little bit darker. And comparatively, this gives you an option that is a little more on that grayed out side, a little bit greeny, very little blue to be seen. But in practicality, with interior lighting, especially if you have LED lights, this may seem a little more cool than you might expect. Definitely test this color out so you know exactly what you're getting. It may not appear anything like what it looks like on a computer screen. Test, test, test. You thought testing ended in high school? Think again. The next color is a little bit lighter than Woodlawn Blue and quite a bit warmer. It's called Ladyfinger. This is a color that you might expect is just kind of a basic beige, but it's more than that. It is a little bit refined with some tan coloration, and it almost has an ochre or a bronze undertone that does pull it into a gold territory that maybe seems a little bit greeny tinged. Just like Woodlawn Blue has a touch of that green hiding in the background, so does this color. Neither of them will feel green, but they do have it somewhere within their makeup. So even though Woodlawn Blue and Ladyfinger are completely different in terms of color temperature, they have a lot of similarities when it comes to how light they are. They're very, very close in terms of LRV, and they both have some form of kiss of green within their mix. Now, because of that, I wanted to go for something very complementary for the third color pairing. What is essentially the opposite of green? You're thinking Christmas colors, green and red, super polarizing, super dynamic pairing. And that's why I picked this color for my color pairing number 3. Warm Earth is part of the Benjamin Moore Classics collection, and it is a classic. It is a 12.5 LRV deep red that sort of feels like raspberries to me. Like, it has that beautiful, delicious coloration to it. It doesn't really have an orange tinge going on, which is what you see a lot of nowadays. It is a tried and true red, almost burgundy in a way, but I love it. I feel it is completely rich and it stands out so much amongst all these other colors. Clearly the accent in terms of hue and depth. It's just beautiful, rich, excellent choice if you want to have an accent room. Paint an entire room with this color. It'll really feel regal, rich, and sophisticated. Here's the palette all together. Let me know what you think. And don't forget to check out our Patreon, where we have exclusive brand new content released every single Sunday. So if you can't get enough of our YouTube videos, we have even more over there. Link is in the description. But we got more YouTube videos right over here if you want to stick around. That's cool too.